Let's bring in our guest. It is Brian Peacock of the Locked On 49ers podcast, also the host of the Peacock and Williamson NFL show on the Locked On Network. Brian, we appreciate you making some time with us this morning. How you doing, man?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm fired up for this one. Can't wait for a little Browns 49ers action. Should be a good one, especially with these two defenses this week.
It'd be a good one if Deshaun Watson plays.
Man, he was lying. You can't come in here lying. That was a great open. Should be a good one.
Yeah.
PJ Walker.
It's not going to be a good one if PJ Walker is playing, I'll tell you that. But
He's being nice, guys.
Yeah, I like it.
Let me ask you this, Brian. Let me ask you this, because we had, it was feisty yesterday. It was yelling and screaming about where Brock Purdy is in the pantheon of quarterbacks in the NFL right now. Well, I'm not even going to tell you what anybody said. Nope. I don't want to, where would you say? We know how well he's played. We know the talent and the coaching he has around him. We know it's not a huge sample size. For you right now, if you're ranking the quarterbacks, where do you put Brock Purdy?
Well, whichever one of you guys had him ranked the highest was correct, because this dude is special. He's got some special qualities, and there you go. And you might not see it as easily as some other quarterbacks, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. It's not that kind of talent, but there's something that Brock Purdy has that those guys have, and it's a level of, I love the term, arm arrogance. And it's very different. Again, it's not 60 air yard throws on a dot. He has some of the best anticipation I've ever seen from a 49ers quarterback. And look, I started watching football way back in the late 80s, early 90s, and I saw some Joe Montana, and that is the top of the heap. That is the mountaintop. And there's some similar. Now, I'm not putting that on him. No, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong here.
You're putting it on him right now. You're putting it on him right now.
There's some qualities. There are some qualities running this scheme and this offense that he brings to it that we haven't seen in the Kyle Shanahan era of San Francisco 49ers quarterbacks. Yeah. There's some special qualities, some toughness, his vision of the field, and he does elevate the team more than I think a lot of people from the outside looking in would think, and I think you'll see some of that on Sunday.
Now, I agree with that. He does a lot of those things. There's no doubt. We can't totally dismiss the talent around him and the coaching staff. However, one person did go as far to say he's better than Josh Allen. Will you at least admit that person is out of his mind?
There's a handful of quarterbacks that right now today I would absolutely trade Brock Purdy for, and I would trade Brock Purdy for Josh Allen. Like, Josh Allen's completely different dude, and he's at the top of the current NFL heap for sure.
But wait, hold on. But you have him above Patrick Mahomes?
No.
Oh, okay.
There is a tier of quarterback that it'd be crazy to put Brock Purdy in right now, and that's the tier where Mahomes and Josh Allen are in, and maybe Mahomes is a different tier at the top. Yeah, but the ones behind those guys, you have to start talking about Brock Purdy just with the way he's playing. And if you look at the statistics, he is up there in that tier.
No, he's ahead of Josh Allen if you look at the statistics.
Let's chill a little bit.
Yeah, if you look at the statistics he's got 11 games.
He just gave you the answer. The guy that covers, we don't want to argue about it anymore. The guy that covers the Niners just said you're crazy. Admit it.
No, the guy that covers the Niners said whoever had him ranked highest is right.
But no, I have him ranked highest in the reasonable spot.
Listen, we spent 20 minutes on the show yesterday.
You gotta stand
Why
down.
is it always me I got to stand down?
Because I have a question for the guy.
I'm so sorry, Brian. That's right. I'm so sorry, Brian.
You come into this house, man, you get mud slinging everywhere.
There you go.
Here's my question for you about this guy. I really have a high regard for Chris Collinsworth. I think Chris does an unbelievable job, and I'm not just talking about his skill set in the booth. I think he's the best at what he does. But I also really, really trust his assessment of quarterback play. I think that's, even though he was a wide receiver, I think he does a great job of breaking down the quarterbacks. And the one thing that he kept saying over and over and over again was the processor and how quickly he's going through information. As much as I love Josh Allen, and I do love him, the one thing I haven't seen and it doesn't mean we're not going to see it, but the one thing I haven't seen from Brock Purdy yet is his mind making a decision that his arm can't back up. He's been so good with the football. In fact, as good as anyone over the last 11 games. What are you seeing on his processor?
Yeah, the processor's been unbelievable from the first time he stepped on the field for the 49ers as a rookie, which is something you just don't see. Even as much football as he played in college, it always takes guys, let's wait till year 2, let's wait till year 3. It was immediate. Tom Brady comes into Levi's Stadium last season, and by the end of the game, the crowd was chanting Brock Purdy's name. Brock Purdy's dad is in the crowd with tears coming out of his eyes, and I'm watching this football game like, what the heck is going on? This guy is not supposed to be this good, and he's kept that up and actually improved this year from what we saw last year. There was some frenetic, like you could tell things were going a little fast. But he always finds the right answer. In the New York Giants game this year, Brock Purdy was blitzed more than anybody in the modern era of football, basically. Wink Martindale's defense, they came after him, blitzing him. It was a little funny early, and he did throw some balls. There's some luck that he could have thrown some more interceptions. He has 0 on the season. He could have 1 or 2 potentially. But he figured it out. And by the end of the game, even with blitzers coming at him, he's getting the ball out ridiculously early, right to the spot where it needs to go, and even figures it out in the small small sample of just a single game, let alone how much he's right within a game, even though, you would think that, week after week and year after year, you get a little bit better, He's figuring this stuff out on the fly during games, even though he hasn't played a full season of football yet. So it's phenomenal. He's going to have a bad game at some point. The haters will come out then. But at this point right now, what he's doing is something that they're going to be writing Hollywood scripts about.
I hope that bad game's Sunday. That's my hope.
One of the things that, I looked at, I saw you was coming on, so I just had to get myself prepared for some 49ers stuff. One of the things that you guys do really well is just the run action. Like, you guys really threaten all the levels. Like, you keep linebackers' eyes glued onto, like, the motions in different places like that. And in the run game, you guys are able to play power football but have misdirection. And I just couldn't help but watch. But, George Kittle is one of the best blockers, like, at tight end. And it's a luxury having that guy because – he's out there like really blocking defensive ends. You're moving the misdirection. And then when you look up, you're like, wow, like who am I going to stop? Am I going to stop Christian McCaffrey on these runs? Or am I going to blitz? But, Christian McCaffrey is good enough to split out wide and really put moves on corners and catch the football. But I think your running game and being so multiple from different formations really gives guys, a little bit of trouble. Like, how do you guys see yourself? Do you guys see yourself as a pass offense, or is it the run game that you're really predicated off of?
See, that's what's interesting with Kyle Shanahan and the offense and how it's changing a little bit in 2023. And I think there's the trust level there in Brock Purdy to do more things through the air. But, it's a Shanahan offense. They're going to run the ball. They run the ball well before McCaffrey. They're going to run the ball well after McCaffrey. But then he just adds that extra little bit of positionless football, and you can move him around and do everything. And it's been phenomenal, the fit for Christian McCaffrey in this offense. And really, Kyle Shanahan's offense has always been about putting linebackers' heads in a blender and just, utilizing their athletes that are better than the defense's athletes and using the defense's rules against them. And that's why you see so much motion and even more motion this year, that fast outward motion rather than always across the formation motion, which is a little bit in vogue that Mike McDaniel and Kyle Shanahan are using this year. And how do you stop the 49ers offense when they have all those weapons? And these guys are so selfless too. You talked about George Kittle's ability to block. These guys get so hyped when somebody else scores a touchdown. And every week it's going to be a different guy. Maybe it's a Deebo Samuel game. Maybe it's a McCaffrey game. Last week it was George Kittle with 3 touchdowns. They're selfless. They block. The wide receivers block down the field, which helps bigger runs. And you can't focus on just one guy because someone else is going to beat you. And if you play him straight up, you're going to get beat somewhere. So we're calling Brock Purdy Brock 30 because the Niners are putting up 30 points a game, and then good luck scoring 30 on that defense. So right now, the way the 49ers are playing, I just don't know how you slow them down. Although Jim Schwartz has had some of the best, I don't want to say luck, has had some of the best schemes against Kyle Shanahan's offense over the course of his career. So that's the one thing that has to happen, and maybe get that oblong ball bouncing your way a little bit in Cleveland.
Yeah, Schwartz is, I believe, 8-1 against Kyle Shanahan in his career, which is amazing. And the Browns obviously have the defense to play well against them. The problem is the Browns are so limited, offensively. You've lost Nick Chubb for the season, and it's trending towards Watson not playing this week. I mean, you look at the Niners, they don't appear to have any weaknesses at all. I mean, I guess the only way you can make them uncomfortable on offense is to pressure them, but that's not easy to do. And then if you don't get home, I mean, what do you look at? If you had to pick a biggest weakness of the team, what would you pick?
I would say the right side of the offensive line. I would probably try to get Myles Garrett over against the right tackle Colton McKivitz as much as possible. We saw in week 1 against the Steelers, J.J. Watt got home multiple times against Brock Purdy. There was 2 strip sacks. The Steelers were able to get one of those turnovers, but the 49ers dominated the rest of the game so much that it didn't matter. And then last week against Micah Parsons, that was sort of the same story. Good defense, right? And you think, okay, Micah Parsons, he's the one that could wreck the game for the 49ers. And he got through, once or twice, but, no sacks. He hit Brock Purdy once. It ended up not being a factor. So even their biggest weaknesses aren't that weak. Not only are they good on offense and defense, they've been awesome on special teams, punting and kicking the ball with rookie Money Moody, too. So at this point, and maybe some new areas of the team will start to show, but I think the right side of the offensive line and then that nickel corner situation, they've kind of had a revolving door with the outside corner nickel spot on the opposite side from Charvarius Ward, and they're trying to figure out what exactly they want to do there, but it looks like they've settled in with Diamador Lenore on the outside and Isaiah Oliver in the slot. So that was another one you think, okay, well, that's where a team could potentially exploit. And CeeDee Lamb was 4 catches for 40 yards, right, last week against the Cowboys. So those weaknesses are very little, and the 49ers have done a great job masking any weaknesses on both sides of the ball that do exist.
It's funny when you have to search the depths of your brain to find a perceived weakness on the team.
That's how good they've been.
It's like, well, I guess the nickel corner's not that good. Right. Well, these are first world problems.
Their trainer.
Let's talk about McCaffrey a little bit because we haven't specified on him. I mean, we had Nick Chubb, who before his injury, it felt like he was impossible to tackle. He always looked like he was running downhill. McCaffrey does all of that. I would argue Nick Chubb's a little better between the tackles, but it's not by much. But McCaffrey in the passing game is just unmatched, except for maybe by Austin Eckler. I mean, that's about it. His combo game and everything he does is remarkable. So the combination of Purdy, which I think we would all agree, is no matter what you feel about Purdy, he's the best quarterback that they've had in San Francisco. I think that's clear. The combination of him and McCaffrey kind of together late last year has, pardon the cliche, taken this franchise to another level where I think it's going to eventually lead to a Super Bowl, whether it's this year or sometime soon. Fair?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the path we're on. Maybe you say the 49ers are peaking a little bit early, which again, we're just kind of nitpicking here. But McCaffrey, you always knew he was good. He's a good runner. Like you mentioned, he's a little lighter, not quite the power back that someone like Chubb or other top backs are, but he's done a good job of trying to get bigger, and he looks even more rocked up this year than he was last year. But one of the things I didn't realize and didn't appreciate as much until I started watching him every week, and you see him in practice, and he's wired a little bit differently. The first day of OTAs, he is flying around the field 100 miles an hour. Like, he's a different guy. And every yard of every run looks like it matters to him, like it is the Super Bowl. And he's so smart, and he knows exactly where to be at all times. He was traded midweek and played he played 2 days after he was traded for the 49ers in Kyle Shanahan's offense, which is one of the most difficult offenses to learn. So it's phenomenal how the competitive toughness that he has, that is something that you kind of could appreciate from afar, but when you see it close up, he's a pretty special guy, the way he's wired, and again, selfless and fits right in with everything else that's going on in that 49ers offense.
So when you look ahead for San Francisco, and I know we're mostly talking about the Browns, but I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are on where they are as it pertains to the Eagles. Obviously, last year the Eagles got to the Super Bowl. Purdy wasn't healthy in that game. I'm sure you've seen the Eagles play this season. Do the 49ers match up more favorably this year with obviously a healthy Brock Purdy? Are they a better football team than the Philadelphia Eagles right now?
Yeah, I would say they're more complete top to bottom, and I do think, despite getting another terror on the inside in Jalen Carter in the draft, which is absurd that the rest of the league let the Eagles do that. The Eagles did lose more than they gained in the offseason. You lose both play callers on both sides of the ball, and so I think the 49ers are better than they were last year. They're better at quarterback. They are, they got more players on both sides of the ball playing at a high level right now. Debo was kind of said himself he was awful last year, and he's even a little bit better this year and in the best shape I've seen him since probably his rookie year, maybe 2021. And they're just firing on all cylinders right now. So I think the 49ers are a more complete team, and they are better than they were last year. I think the Eagles are a little worse, and that's scary because the Eagles are still 5-0 though, and I think there's still another level that they're going to hit this year. So when in December, Week 13, 49ers Eagles, that's going to be a popcorn game for sure.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. More importantly, I can't wait for the NFC Championship because I think they're going to play again.
Brian, quick answer to wrap it up: if assuming Deshaun Watson doesn't play, what is more likely to happen this Sunday? Browns win, Niners shutout.
Probably Niners shutout. I will say an athletic quarterback can give this scheme we've seen all the way back to the Robert Saleh days, some trouble. So that's what you're hoping for, I think, if PJ Walker's in there at quarterback for you.
Thanks, Brian. Good stuff, man.
Brian, great stuff. Yeah,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you very much. Give my best to John Lynch.
Thanks, fellas.